This is Scott Spratt from ProFootballFocus.com Fantasy, and this is another Fantasy Slant. 2 weeks into the preseason, expectations for rookie quarterbacks have been turned on their head. Blake Bortles has thrown for 277 yards in his 2 games and looked tremendous. Teddy Bridgewater has thrown for 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, and included a game-winning drive against the Cardinals. Neither player was expected to make much of a fantasy impact entering the preseason process, but now both players look like they have a chance to become starters very quickly in the start of the season. In contrast, Johnny Manziel has thrown for just 128 yards in his 2 games, and he's already been not named the starter as Brian Hoyer has gotten the nod for Cleveland, in part because of some off-the-field situations which seem to follow Manziel wherever he goes. However, for people looking for Bortles and Bridgewater to make an impact in fantasy this season, they should look to the recent success of quarterbacks and not be misled. Rookie quarterbacks have been pretty successful in recent years, as guys like Cam Newton, Robert Griffin III, and Andrew Luck have become important fantasy players, but their common element isn't that they are recent rookies. Their common element is that they've all had a lot of rushing production to mask shortcomings in their passing yards and passing touchdown totals. Just looking at the guys that are really good fantasy players and also pocket passers, many of them didn't have very good fantasy seasons as rookies. Matthew Stafford threw for 2,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions. Matt Ryan threw for 3,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Andy Dalton was really the best with 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions, but that's not going to be a top 20 or a top 15 quarterback in fantasy this season. Even Peyton Manning, the best quarterback in the league by many opinions, threw for just 3,800 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 28 interceptions as a rookie. Drew Brees and Tom Brady didn't even make a fantasy impact in their first 2 seasons in the league. This could be a similar fate to guys like Bortles and Bridgewater, who may become successful fantasy players down the line, but just have the odds stacked against them in the short term. Even though Manziel isn't the starter to start the year, he has the best chance of any of these rookies to make an impact in fantasy this season because of his rushing ability. It may be a few games down the line, but in deeper leagues, Manziel is still worth drafting with a late bench pick. From Pro Football Focus, this is Scott Spratt.